Missoula Podcast, happy Tuesday, episode 58. Brandon, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
In my mind, I couldn't figure out what episode we were on, and then you told me right before we got on.
58.
So sorry about that awkwardness.
It's all right. School's starting here soon.
Yes. And we realized there's a lot of important people that work in those schools. So it might be a good idea to bring on one of those people today. You want to introduce our guest?
Let's do it. Dan, how are you?
I'm great.
We got Dan Ries in the Missoula Podcast studio today. Dan, you and I first met at a Meet the Teacher night.
Fifth grade.
A handful. When I was in fifth grade. That's right. You were my fifth grade teacher. No,
You wish.
my daughter was in your fifth grade class. She's now a junior in high school. So I'm not real good at numbers. It was a handful of years ago. Since then, our paths have crossed multiple ways. You've taught a couple of my kids. You've been assistant principal for my kids, athletic director. In fact, I first season coached basketball at Target Range, and you were my boss. And you also live down the street from me, and our daughters are friends. And so I thought, hey, as we're going back into this back to school season, I thought it'd be fun just to have a school administrator come on and hear the story, the behind the scenes. Like, why do you do what you do? Why do you keep showing up 20 plus years into the school system to deal with people like myself and my son? So thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Dan, why did you want to become a teacher initially? Like, when did that dream happen? Or did you fall into it?
No, I didn't fall into it. I wanted to be a teacher since third grade. And I think it's because of the system I grew up in. I grew up in Conrad, Montana, and in Conrad, they had a tremendous school system and loved my teachers. And I was like, I'm going to be a teacher in third grade. And in fifth grade, it was solidified because I had my favorite teacher, Mr. Stuhlmacher. And once I had that guy, Rich Stuhlmacher, I think he's still around. But once I had him, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. Now, it kind of took me a road to get there, but I certainly knew early on that teaching was what I wanted.
What did he do, or what was he like that made him such a great teacher in your eyes?
Well, I'm all over the place a lot of times, especially as a kid. Just like as my grandpa said, a fart in a skillet, and I was just always bouncing around, and he was okay with that. He kind of channeled my energy instead of trying to stifle me. And on top of that, we had tremendous projects that we worked on. I remember specifically the Oregon Trail experience. And this wasn't digital. I mean, they did have the digital version on those old computers.
You were old school though.
It was with this green deer running across the screen. But he did like the real, we acted it out and did it for about a month.
What was that sickness? Dysentery? Dysentery from
I never got
Oregon
it.
Trail? You didn't get it?
Never got it, but maybe,
You're good.
digitally we got it. But we had to draw those cards, and you might have, ran into some problems and some obstacles, and you had to problem solve, and you had a team, and you had a stagecoach manager, and it was awesome.
So did you go to high school in Conrad?
I did. All 13 years of school plus preschool, 14. So I was born in Conrad and raised in Conrad, and didn't leave Conrad until I went to the U of M here. So
in Conrad, did you grow up in town on the 3 or 4 streets that make up Conrad proper, or were you out?
Hey, we had
farm?
a stoplight. We had a stoplight.
I was just in Conrad this summer.
It was a real stoplight, not a blinking.
You have a stoplight. You have a restaurant called The Keg.
Yeah, I love the Keg.
The Keg was solid. Really good burger.
Yeah, still.
It's my first time ever in Conrad.
Okay. Tasty Freeze.
Cool little
Keg.
town.
Home cafe.
You don't need anything else.
No.
You have
The
it all
triple
right there.
threat golf course.
So did you live in town, or were you out?
No,
rural?
we were out of town. We were rural, right above the rodeo grounds.
Farm.
We had a farm, and,
Okay.
and we grew wheat, durum wheat, and barley.
Okay.
Barley for Anheuser-Busch there in Conrad, and irrigated, and we had about 20 to 40 head of cattle at any given year, but mostly just farm and mow grass and work on the farm. It was great.
Both of your parents, that's all they did? They were all about the farm?
No, my mom, she worked at the Soil Conservation Service, and actually she went back to school when I did. After I graduated, she went to the U of M Law School, and she was Justice of the Peace for a few years at the end of my high school career. Didn't have to go see her. That was nice. And then she went back and became Ponderay County attorney later on. So,
what did you like about the small town experience or growing up on the farm? Maybe what were some of the lessons that you got from that?
Definitely taught me how to work hard, right? And I think if you're willing to work hard in this country, you can pretty much do whatever you want, and not let something that needs to be fixed keep you down. You come up against an obstacle, and you're going to find a solution around it. And I think how I grew up, that's what taught me not to be afraid of failing, not to be afraid of tearing something apart and fixing it and getting back to work. Even when I was, 8, 9 years old, driving truck and couldn't get it in gear. So, you got 2 feet on the clutch and you're pulling on the steering wheel with both hands, and then you just put her into first. I mean, little things like that you don't think about, but taught me a lot of good lessons.
Dan, to this day, I've never driven a stick shift.
He's a Missoula kid.
Sad.
I have no clue how.
Sad.
My greatest fear is getting a rental car and being a stick shift.
Well, you better make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We're all going to laugh at you.
So post high school, University of Montana, is that what
I did?
Made you decide to come to Missoula?
I'm a big music guy. I was percussion and choir, and we had state music festival in Missoula when I was a junior. And I was like, wow, this place is awesome. I think I didn't go anywhere besides the U and Rockin' Rudy's. And I was like, oh, I'm sold. Rockin' Rudy's? Are you kidding me? And the next year I got accepted, and I was like, I'm going to the U.
Was that a hard transition from Conrad to Missoula, getting used to that? Or were you
I would say it could have been, but I was so ready for it. I was ready for something new. And, you grow up and stay in the same spot for that many years. I think 10 years and then doing something different is like about perfect, just from my experience now. But so I went a little longer than that growing up, 18 years. And I was ready. I was just ready to move on, and not to forget Conrad, but just to experience something new.
Mm-hmm.
I can also tell you I started dating my now wife then when I was a junior in high school. And she's a big part of my high school years growing up. I didn't know if you knew that, but
no.
So
high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
From
Since
Conrad,
95.
Montana.
Yeah.
So she came to school over here with you?
She did, but I'm a couple years older. So
you had to wait?
It was long distance for a couple of years. And
so you guys still have family back in Conrad? Do you get back there?
Yeah, we get back there. Not very much, not as much as I would like, but my brother and his family still live back there. And I'm actually going back this fall. They're celebrating our 30th anniversary of our first state championship on the football team. So they asked me to come, and I think there'll be 25 or 30 of my teammates there. And we won wrestling state championship and the football state championship Class B that year. So we are celebrating. We're going to go get, celebrated and have fun during halftime of homecoming. It'll be great.
Fun.
Yeah. And of course I love school. I'm forever into school. So I know a lot of the school administrators over there and some of the teachers still. So it'll be great.
What was that like, doing the long distance thing with your girlfriend at the time while you were at college?
It was hard. You know what the hardest thing was? Try going to prom when you're in college. That was tough, man. That was tough, but I did it.
How'd you humble yourself?
Friends and her. I think I'd pretty much do anything for her still. Yeah, she's amazing. Just the impact that Brandy has had on me is she's a lot of why I am the way I am.
What'd you go to school for? What'd you major in?
So I majored in elementary ed.
Okay.
And I changed my major. I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to go into business. And so I actually graduated with a business degree. marketing management. Crazy, huh?
Wild.
It is
So
wild.
what did you,
I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why.
coming out of college, what'd you do? What was that first job? Or
First job was pretty sweet. So her and I graduated fairly. So I took a little bit longer because I was in this band and long story.
oh no, we got
Oh,
time.
yeah,
Let's
right.
go.
Tell us about your band.
I was in this band, and when I was in
Did
the
you have
band,
like long hair at the time?
I had like Kurt Cobain hair.
Oh.
Yeah. So drummer, forever drummer. I met him in the UM marching band when I was at school, and we started this. I would say it's kind of punky band, kind of Green Day-ish, 3-piece, and just wrote our own songs and played around town. Jay's upstairs a lot, Boys and Girls Club.
What was the name of the band?
The Disappointments. Still around today. The band's not, but the music is. It's on all the streaming services, and
it's amazing.
Still, it's a proud time. We wrote all those songs and practiced like crazy, and still went to school and paid our rent, and
That's awesome.
and still keep in touch with those guys. And we're
Did
all
you
different.
think you were gonna make it? Like
We did. We played the Montana version of the Warped Tour.
yeah.
We were on the 96.3 The Blaze. We thought, this is it. We got this. And I was 3 years younger than the other guys, 2 years younger. And so I was kind of the one with the better head on my shoulders, I would say, at that point in our lives. So I was like, kept track of all the money and our management. I was like our manager too, and made sure that when they were a little, inebriated, that I was a little younger. So I kept things in order, and man, I wouldn't trade those days.
Do you think in the next couple of years we could have a 30-year reunion of the
The
Disappointments tour?
Maybe. I think
A
people
reunion?
want that now.
I would
Yeah.
love. I would be front and center, man.
Be great.
It'd be so awesome.
Yeah. So, I loved it. I loved the band. It did take me a little bit longer to graduate, and my major change made me.
So you and Brandy graduated at the same time,
Yep.
same year?
Yep. And she double majored, of course, like she does. And we actually went to work together in a business down in Las Vegas. And it was, I would say, one of the first search engine companies in 2001. But I would probably say it was more like a original Craigslist. Okay. The Google search, or I don't even remember the name of it now. My Global Search. That's what it was called. myglobalsearch.com. And we worked hard in that business, probably 60, 80 hours a week. And it was I quickly learned this is not what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And
What about it?
just customer service in the digital era. It's brand new. I loved it. I loved building the website. I loved dealing with the people, but the amount of energy that it took to just do the work, but I didn't have that feeling of, am I doing something for the world? Am I serving my community? I didn't have that. And I need that. I need that self-efficacy to kind of continue.
It sounded like it just lacked purpose.
I need the fire. And so I'm not afraid of hard work, but the return just wasn't there. Like there was no fire.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you there?
Very short, like 8 months, 6-8 months.
And was Brandy feeling similar?
Same, very same. And so we quickly pivoted, and she went to work for a bank, and I went to work for Starbucks. And Starbucks in Vegas is the real deal, man. The real deal.
Were you on the strip? Were you on the strip?
I was on, not the strip. It was but Sahara Avenue, way out in Summerlin.
Okay.
Yeah, it was sweet.
You liked it?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved I felt like I had a little bit more of a purpose, and just slinging coffee. Harrison Ford, shout out that guy. I got to serve him. That was pretty sweet. Love Han Solo.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bet he shouts out to you quite a bit too.
Yeah, probably.
Every time
My
he talks
barista
about
guy.
my barista. And
Remember that guy
Vegas?
from 01? Yeah.
That's awesome.
02.
So how long were you guys in Vegas?
For about a year, because
Okay.
while I worked at Starbucks, I went back to school. So from 4 to to noon, I went to work. And then from 4 to 10 at night, I went to school.
What school was that at?
It was called Sierra Nevada,
Okay.
out of Las Vegas. So it is based out of Tahoe, the Tahoe region, and they have a outlet there in Vegas. And you know what's the best is we wanted to come back to Montana, and so they let me student teach here. And that's actually how I got my start is they assigned me student teaching in Arlee, Montana. And so I got to, I guess.
Like, was that coincidental? Like
They
just came to you and said, hey, we got a spot
No, they
in Arlee, Montana?
I said, I want to go. I'd love to go around Missoula. And
Okay.
yeah, so it was coincidental that they were like, Arlee, Montana wants you. And they have an open coaching position. So I took that or I got it, interviewed for it, and with the football team, high school football. And
back to Steven's question earlier, was there a culture shock? Was that a hard change going from Las Vegas to Arlee?
I would say it wasn't a culture shock, but I was glad to be back in Montana. I can tell you growing up in Conrad, it's pretty much 100% Caucasian people.
Mm-hmm.
And going to Arlee on the Flathead Reservation, I was a little nervous because I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you those nerves had no validity at all. They welcomed me with open arms. I have tremendous relationships still on the res in Arlee and around the surrounding area. They are a huge part of what I do and who I am in education today.
You're coaching football, and what were you teaching?
I was teaching 6th grade. Shout out to Mrs. Adams. She was my mentor teacher and just showed me the ropes and taught me what teaching could be. And I actually just saw her at a wedding a few weeks ago, and it was great to see her and kind of reminisce. So
you do your student teaching, and then did you stay on at Arlee?
The Mr. Bachmeyer kind of created a position for me, luckily, and kept me on. And so I got to teach some 7th grade math in the middle school and PE and yeah, I loved it. That was my start. Eventually got on and coached wrestling, the high school wrestling team, and assistant coach with Mr. Hill. And yeah, I very fond memories of those days.
I've always wondered on the hard days of teaching, which I'm sure there were many in the first couple of years and continue to be, but more in the beginning when you don't know what the heck you're doing.
Tough.
How were you able to continue and get up and to have a positive attitude and to keep your focus on the kids? Like, what was some things that worked for you specifically in those first couple of years?
I would say my team, my family at home, Brandy for sure, but my team there, Mr. Hill and Miss Shanahan, now it's Miss DeFulgentis, and that team just taught me, we kind of just hashed out how we're going to deal with the problems, and we all were on the same page, and having that to come at those problems as a team really helped me, especially in those early years, because I didn't know exactly. You don't come out of teaching school knowing exactly what's going on. And I learned so much from Mr. Hill. He was a science teacher, and he didn't tell me this is what you do, but he showed me you need to connect with the kids. You got to connect with the kids. The kids loved him. So he wasn't like a pushover. You're not there to be their friend, but he just showed me that you have to connect with them in whatever way that you can. Doesn't matter if it's the kid you easily connect with. Those are obviously easy, right? But the ones that are more difficult to connect with, or ones that don't like school at all, or that you just don't have anything in common with, you got to find those things.
How'd you pick up on that? Just what was it about him that?
Just watching his interactions with kids. And if he asked them to do something, they complied immediately. And I was like, it's not magic. They respect him and love him. Mm-hmm. He was still could be a tough teacher, and had high expectations, but you know, they loved him. And I go back to that time and just remember I had to do some resets, some whole class resets of, okay, we have new rules, new ground rules, and just keep it simple and have lunch with some kids, different group of kids every day, go play football with them at recess. So little things like that, go to their events after school, just call them their parents when they're doing well, not just when there's a problem.
Oh, that's good.
There's a lot of things that you can do to help build that relationship.
It's just being real intentional with every action. It's not just lunch break where you just happen to sit with the kids. Like you were working, you were building relationships, right, investing in them outside of the classroom. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's nice to have, 30 minutes of peace and quiet, but the payoff there of having lunch with the kids is immense. Immense.
As a father, with 3 kids, it can be challenging. There's hard days. So I always admire the teachers, the individuals who sign up and want to take on 25 kids every day and then go home and deal with their own kids. I don't know how some teachers do it. It appears to be exhausting. So I really, really admire that. How long were you in Arlee?
I was in Arlee for 10 years. Before I interviewed in Missoula. And the only reason we went back to Missoula is Brandy opened up a law practice, and so it just was easier instead of commuting all the time for her if we moved here. And Targa Range had recently at that time had like 10 openings. They had 10 teachers retire, and it's kind of a big. When that happens, there's a shift in the culture. Mm-hmm. It's going to be kind of open from scratch. And the principal at that time had reached out to me and asked me to apply. And I had met some of the teachers prior at some math camps and some other things that I do. Yeah, I still go to math camp in the summer. Does
your family know? You go to camp?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They're supportive. And so I applied. I think that's when teaching was a kind of still a big deal recently in the recent years, it's kind of really gone down. People wanting to get into the field. But at that time, I think there was over 110 applicants for those 10 jobs. And
yeah, this was like the place that everybody wanted to be in Missoula, right?
For sure.
The university here.
Yeah.
You couldn't find a job.
No. So I felt lucky to get the job, and 2 incredible teammates got hired. So a whole 5th grade team was hired, and I got to be their mentor, and they were first year teachers right out of the gate. I had 10 years under my belt, even though I was new. I at least wasn't new in the field, and they just set us up for success, just having that, those 2, and we still stay in contact today, the 3 of us, and they're tremendous.
So I'm guessing you said your wife, Brandy, started a law practice.
Mm-hmm.
So she went back to school at some point.
She did.
Well, you were teaching in Arlee, so she left banking. And now she runs her own law practice.
She does. Yeah. She went back to school right after our first was born. Our first was born in 2004, and Emma and Brandy went to law school that August, September, first year. Yeah. And incredible woman.
Crazy.
Yeah.
We'll come back to the story. Let's go rapid fire questions, Stephen.
Let's do it. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. First initial memory of Missoula.
My first initial memory is the music festival, state music festival, when I was a junior, and Rockin' Rudy's. Man, just walking from the U to there, it felt like, I walked 5 miles, but I didn't, just off the edge of campus there. Pretty incredible.
Favorite coffee shop in Missoula?
To go to and sit, I would say Drum Coffee or
I knew you were going to say that.
Clyde's. I like Clyde's. But with the girls, they love Copper Mountain. So we probably frequent there more. Copper Mountain's just crazy with
all the sugar
with the kids. I think so. Yeah. I think
that's what it is. That's what my wife loves about.
And the cars just like lining Stevens. Like,
I know.
It's
nuts.
I know.
It's an experience.
Whatever they're doing. They're doing good. Yeah.
How about favorite restaurant in Missoula?
I love 1889. Just steak. I grew up on steak and potatoes. So, but I would say there's a new one. It's not within Missoula city limits. It's up on Evero Hill, just north, halfway to Arlee. It's called Campfire. Oh, I just had a great ribeye there. So check that out.
I've
Campfire
heard great
with a
things
K.
about it.
Yeah, it's good.
Not been there.
Used to be the Buck Snort.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's Campfire.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
What zip code do you live in?
803.
Oh.
803.
Already established
The greatest and most powerful zip code in all of Missoula, Steven.
Yeah.
The one zip code to rule them all.
that. Yeah.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know. Hey,
you can get locked in up there pretty easy.
it's true. That is true.
With
But
the recent events.
we like to look down and keep our eye on the rest of the city and make sure you guys are.
Thank you for watching.
Yep, we got
Looking
you.
out for
We
us.
got you.
That's what we're doing.
Dan, what to you is the weirdest part of Missoula?
The weirdest part of Missoula.
Or the weirdest thing? I've never phrased it that way before. The weirdest thing.
Weirdest thing about Missoula?
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, the people are weird, right?
Oh, right.
That's kind
Absolutely.
of, it also kind of drew me to Missoula, right? Like the Tommy the Leprechaun and I mean, he was like in his heyday when I came over, and the Reverend and
It's amazing how often those guys get referenced from people on here.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, and most recently, I see this dude just trucking down Brooks in his white helmet. Oh, I love
Seen
that
that
guy.
guy
He
yet.
reminds me when I was 5, I used to run around in a motorcycle helmet, you know. I just love it. He's like on a mission, and I kind of interested.
We should get
I
him
wanna-
on.
I wanna
Hear a
meet
story.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to
We'll
have
make that
fun.
happen.
Mhm.
What do you love most about Missoula?
Yeah, people. Same thing. Yeah, that I
There's
would
this
say.
dude on Brooks with a white helmet. I just love it.
I mean, specifically at my school, Target Range School, the people there, they support the staff, tremendous staff, but the community, the parents, the kids, we're all one unit. It's a microcosm of Missoula, but I love that. I love the people. They come together when needed. If there's a problem, people aren't afraid to voice their concerns. It's okay to disagree. And then we come together in consensus and do what's right for the kids, especially at Target Range.
It's amazing.
I think that's the way our country should run. Like let's disagree and not get split, but let's come to some sort of consensus.
Have you ever thought about running for political office?
No,
Just
no,
kidding.
not at all. That's
Is there a
hard no.
particular book that you've read that has had a significant impact on your life?
Yeah, I would say a couple. Very first, my mother-in-law, she was a teacher, and she kind of, I've known her forever, right? Since 95. So, she got me hooked on this guy, Harry Wong, and he wrote the first weeks of school, and that helped me, kind of get my feet under my belt. And then most recently I got this guy and his whole shtick is let's do it for the kids. And his name is Ron Clark. And he wrote a book called The Essential 55. And it was just like the ways to engage kids, the ways to be the best teacher. And he opened a school in Atlanta. I actually just went to a conference and he was supposed to come, and they had the snafu with the glitches in airlines, and he couldn't make it, but he did it virtually, and it was still just amazing. Ron Clark.
Was it a humbling book to read?
I wouldn't say humbling, but
But
it was more motivating.
More motivating. Okay.
Yeah, like here's some steps that you can do to be a good teacher, and they worked for me because there's 1,000 ways
Right.
to do something well, especially teaching, and you got to do with what works for you, right? I can't just come in and tell you how you should be teaching. We have to figure out ways that work for you and the kids, and everybody has their own style. And so you have to figure out what works for you. And Ron Clark just worked for me. The way he approaches kids and families, and if something comes up, don't just let it sit. Address it as immediately as possible. No lag time. I think that's really important, whether it's conflict or maybe not that big of a deal. Make sure you get it done now. I'm a get it done now kind of person.
It's good. It's good for my marriage. That advice right there. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge, or maybe that's not the way I want to say this, but how have you been able to manage being a teacher and a coach, a husband and dad. Like that seems like a really busy schedule and a lot of obviously days exhausted with kids, but nights with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how have you been able to manage that well?
I gotta shout out to Brandy, for holding it all together. She's a tremendous organizer, so she helps me with kind of laying that stuff out, especially with our family. And so I take some of her skills and tools, and I implement those in my professional life, whether it's coaching or teaching or now being principal, and just kind of keep things in order. But I would say number one, Brandy. That's my go-to.
In the last couple of years, you've transitioned out of teaching into admin,
Mm-hmm.
and as you just alluded to, now the
So I got-
junior high principal.
Yes, middle school. We're going to call it the upper school.
The upper school.
Upper school, 5'8".
Kind of like 59803, the upper school.
That's right. Upper school, 5'8". And we just recently hired Kelly Chumraw for the lower school. She's preschool through 4th grade. So I got a new partner. My partner in crime last year, Barb Dressler, is going back into 1st grade. And so that opened up the spot. And Mr. Cruz, our superintendent, kind of revamped the whole structure. And so now we have 2 principals.
What's
one
that
school.
What's that transition like, going from teaching side of the hallway to the admin side?
I didn't know what to expect when I jumped into it. I wasn't necessarily immediately ready, but I knew this was the time. The spot opened. Our previous assistant principal went back into the classroom as well. Admin is tough right now, right? Schools are no cakewalk, and I love it, but it's definitely tough.
Why is it? Why is it a struggle?
I don't know. I don't know if I can put a finger on it, but I would say that there's not the respect given to the profession that there used to be. That's sad to say. So any time that I talk about teaching or our school or any school, I think we just got to keep it positive and showcase the good that's happening. Cause there's a lot of things that your teachers do and your principals do and your secretaries do. And your PTO does. Our PTO is tremendous. And when they all work together, we can get a lot done and have some success. And more recently, there's just the negative connotations and the negativity in the media and it's kind of overshadowing it. And I feel like we have to kind of shout ourselves out and I think that's the attitude that Kelly and I are bringing into this school, and hopefully people can see that and educators everywhere can follow suit.
What is the greatest challenge you currently face in the school system as a whole?
The greatest challenge? Well, I would say our teachers are solid. Okay. And the students that we have are outstanding. But I would also say our students have changed a lot, especially in the past 5-6 years. And so our teachers are having to figure out new ways to address different kinds of problems. And I would say that's probably the biggest problem. That and just financially, like getting enough money from our legislature and that's tough.
What was the impact COVID had on your profession?
Tremendous impact. I mean, it there were so many good things that happened, right? It made us mobile. It brought our Zoom meetings out, made us really good with technology, but it definitely just turned our profession 180. we're still dealing with a lot of that. Kids forgot what school was like. And so they're still relearning that. I think school became less of a priority for some families. And so maybe now it's not touted as highly at home. And so we're dealing with that. And, you know, I also think, just our social media. I'm actually reading a book. A lot of us are reading a book called The Anxious Generation. If you guys haven't heard of that, by Jonathan Haidt. It's talking about how our students are being rewired by our phones and screens, and how it's basically making kids anxious. And there's a lot of research and data in there that's pretty valid. So
I've got a couple questions that are all similar, Dan. First one being, if you could speak into the lives of every parent, if you could say one thing as an administrator to a parent, if you could get all the parents who have kids in school into one room, what would you say to them?
I would say, trust us. Trust us. We love your students. We are going to do the best for your student. I feel like the trust has been broken across our nation from public schools. And so there's this pattern evolving that's maybe against public school. And I can tell you, especially at Target Range School, we want our parents to trust us. And I will be transparent with you, even if it's not all hunky dory, right? It's not all good. When there's trouble, when there's conflict, when there's something bad, I will still communicate. We will still communicate with you and be transparent. We might not always see eye to eye, but we can assure you we're doing what's best for your students.
So we move all the parents out of that auditorium and we move all the students in. If you could say one thing to all the students, what would that be?
You know, my first thing with students is always, I want to get to know them. Like, I know that I know a lot of our student body, but I still, the first thing I want to do is like ask them questions, and you can't do that with the whole student body. But I want them to know that I'm there for them and that their teachers are there for them. And I might not be the person for all 500 kids, but there's a staff member that is there for each one of them. And they have to find who that staff member is or who they are. It might be multiple staff members. And we're going to be there for you.
If you could go back and do it all over again, would you?
Yes, 100%. 100%. 10 years in Arlee, tremendous. I have great mentors. 10 years at Target Range, again, great mentors. People teaching and teaching me how to teach and helping me be better. My teams, I've had tremendous teams over the years. I would still do it. And then jumping into admin at the end, which it's not the end. It's just the beginning for me. I still have a lot of years left. But Target Range, it's there for me, and I'm going to be there for it.
It's awesome, Dan. Well, thank you for pouring your heart into this community, and thank you for your 5th grade teacher. What was his name again?
Mr.
Stuhlmacher, for giving you that vision of investing.
Such a great name.
It is such a great name.
Stuhlmacher.
And thank you for the town of Conrad and your folks for giving you just this desire to work hard and support people. Missoula is a better place with people like you in it and in the schools. And thank you for pouring into our next generation. We really appreciate having you on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
If there was a young person sitting here who has the idea or dream to go into teaching, they want to become a teacher and go to school for elementary education, what piece of advice would you give them?
First of all, commit and do it, because you're going to love it. If you're truly meant to be a teacher or coach, a mentor, do it. Don't let anybody tell you different, because right now there's people trying to get people not to go into teaching because it is tough, but we can do hard things, right? And get a mentor, get somebody that or a group of mentors, get people that can help you. You don't know everything. You're going to fail. but that's the only way you can learn. So make sure you surround yourself with people that can support you.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story. And as Steven said, just grateful for you and the impact you're making in Missoula. And I've personally felt it with my own children. Just really proud of you and grateful for your friendship and the investment you're making.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's up, Missoula? This is Nick Balla, producer of the Missoula Podcast. We truly appreciate you hanging out with us as we dive into the stories that make our city special. If you could do us a quick favor and follow the show wherever you are listening, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching on YouTube, so hit that little subscribe button. It really helps us out. Head on over to www.themissoulapodcast.com for more information, and we'll see you next week.